Antigua and Barbuda pays off its debt to the IMF hours before general elections. Our top story in Caribbean Newsline for Tuesday, March 20th from the CMC News Center in Bridgetown. I'm Dawn Paris. Good evening. Antigua and Barbuda's Prime Minister Gaston Brown has announced that his government has made a $12 million EC dollar payment to the International Monetary Fund, effectively paying off its long-standing debt to the International Lending Agency. At a press conference on Tuesday afternoon, Prime Minister Brown said the accomplishment was something to celebrate.
Today, I am pleased to confirm that we have given instructions to the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank today to make the final payment to the IMF. It's a payment of $12 million EC dollars, which will retire that $320 million loan in its entirety. It means, therefore, that from today, we will no longer be indebted to the IMF, and that with a signal to the international community and to investors that the Antiguan economy is strong, we no longer have a situation in which the economy is contracting, as in the case of the former administration.
The Prime Minister said the country still has the Paris Club loans to deal with, loans that he says have been in default for more than 40 years. He said an Antigua and Barbuda Labour Party ABLP administration will deal with that if it is returned to office.
So in the new term, we intend to engage the Paris Club with the hope that they can write off a part of the principal, or at least some of the interest, if not all of it. They have been resisting it, but I think it's untenable for them to hold us responsible for 40 years of interest. And we'll be negotiating. I mean, I've said to them, we have nothing to lose.
Brown and his ABLP faced the electorate in less than 24 hours, and in a last attempt to promote his party as the right choice, he told voters that if they vote the United Progressive Party into office, the gains that were made by the ABLP administration would be eroded. But in an immediate response, UPP leader Harold Lovell, a former finance minister, told the Caribbean Media Corporation that Brown's argument is a complete falsehood.
He is not campaigning on a record of achievement. He's campaigning negatively, scaring the population, trying to persuade them that the United Progressive Party would not be a good option. But in that endeavor also, he will fail. So I just want to say that the statement that he made, it's a major lie. It is based on a false premise, and it is a desperate attempt to influence voters at this late stage, because he has nothing but failures to look at over his tenure of 3 years and some months.
Lovell said the UPP was in office during one of the most financially turbulent times in the country, when the global crisis hit and when the Stanford International Bank, which was then the largest private sector employer, collapsed.
Now, notwithstanding this external shock, which really affected our economy very seriously, we were able to dig down, double down, and to emerge in 2012 with the highest growth rate in the entire OECS. We experienced a 3% growth rate in 2012. No other country in the OECS achieved a 3% growth rate in 2012.
A record 53 candidates will be contesting the 17 seats up for grabs in Wednesday's elections. Meantime, the process of transporting Barbudans to Antigua to cast their ballots is in train. It started over the weekend and is expected to continue through to Election Day. Last week, High Court Judge Justice Claire Henry ruled that Barbudans will vote in Antigua as was announced by the Antigua and Barbuda Electoral Commission, ABEC, after leader of the Barbuda People's Movement, Trevor Walker, sought to get the court to overturn that decision and let Barbudans vote at home in their constituency. Following the court ruling, ABEC set out to make arrangements to help registered voters in Barbuda get to the mainland to vote. We get more in this report from Andy Liebert of ABS News.
The National Office of Disaster Services and the Electoral Commission sprung into action after the judgment last Thursday that cleared the way for Barbudans to vote in Antigua in the general elections. Soon afterward, registration began at the council building for those who wish to make the trip. Head of the North Operations in Barbuda, Major Lando Michael, says by Saturday, the exercise was in full swing, with residents boarding the ferry for the journey to the mainland.
And that has been going. First have started been moving since Saturday, actually, Sunday, today, and that will go on until Wednesday to ensure that all persons have the opportunity to come to Antigua. There is no, nothing that says that you can't come because you don't have accommodation or anything else of the sort. All that has been done. So once you've been registered, then arrangements are made for both transportation and accommodation.
According to Michael, around 170 people have already made the trip. He is pleased with the process so far, especially since it made the opportunity fully available for Barbudans to exercise their franchise.
But in terms of the accessibility, that has been okay. That person was able to access either by going to the office or making a call to somebody and saying, okay, listen, I want to travel and I need transportation. All those things have been made available.
Only electors who are registered with the Barbuda Council Office for Government Assistance will be provided with accommodation, meals, and transportation. According to a NOD statement, individuals who have to travel with children or other persons under their care should provide this information to the Council Office representatives on Barbuda when registering in order for them to be accommodated. Barbudan electors who will be staying with friends and relatives should also provide that information.
And in other election developments, this time in Cuba, the second phase of voting in parliamentary elections is over and the final results are in. Over 85% of eligible voters went to the polls to choose members of the National Assembly and to cast their ballots in provincial elections. In this special report from Richard Richards of Canal Caribe TV in Cuba, we take a look at the Electoral Office's assessment of the process.
The National Election Committee of Cuba reported finally that 85.65% of the total of voters of the island, this means 7,399,891 persons, exerted their rights to vote at the end of the second phase of the general elections for deputies to the National Parliament and delegates to the Provincial Assembly of People's Power. In a special press conference, Salina Balseiro Gutierrez, president of Cuba's National Election Committee, affirmed that the 605 candidates to congressmen to the National Assembly of the People's Power proved to be elected because they caught up with more than half of the amount of votes valid according to the terms regulated by the law. Once the election was finished and preliminary results informed, a matching process took place so as to avoid repetitions in the record of electorates who were registered in one place but had to vote in another different polling station. Exclusion were made with deceased people who had passed away after the update, printing and delivering of the registration ballots. This allowed to conclude with an updated list of 8,639,989 citizens with the constitutional rights to vote. The Cuban National Election Committee highlighted the work of the electoral authorities across the board, the decisive collaboration of different factors in the territories, and mainly the participation of the people, a touchable sample that recognizes the electoral Cuban system, which enables a transparent election of those who for 5 years period will conduct the destiny of the nation.
The newly installed National Assembly will proceed to vote for a new Cuban president on April 19th. Current President Raul Castro will not be seeking another term in office. Meantime, the government of Venezuela is adamant that it wants the United Nations and other international organizations to observe its presidential elections carded for May 20th. And the UN Political Affairs spokesperson Jose Luis Diaz, said the UN Secretary General is considering Venezuela's request. Cuba's Communication and Information Minister Jorge Rodriguez repeated the call for international observers during a local television interview on Sunday night. He said anyone who wants to learn how elections are carried out in a real democracy is welcome to observe the process next month. Rodriguez said the process is overseen by electoral experts and involves 13 audits ahead of Election Day. And he said those audits are evidence of transparency in the electoral system. Opposition presidential candidate Henry Falcon recently met with UN Political Affairs Chief Jeffrey Feltman to encourage the organization to send an electoral mission to the country. Falcon said he would like to see a UN electoral team observing the process, saying that he believes it will help ensure a truthful, trustworthy, transparent, and safe electoral process. Venezuela is also extending invitations to observer missions from the Latin America and Caribbean States Community, the South American Nations Union, the Southern Common Market, the Carter Center, and the European Union. Still to come in Caribbean Newsline, the Haiti government establishes a reception center to help its nationals in the Bahamas. We'll be right back.
Time. Kick back, relax, enjoy the view, the boats, the scenery amidst epic parties, entertainment and nightlife. Antigua Sailing Week. Experience 7 days of non-stop bliss. Chase the race daily by land or up close by sea as the crews compete for glory. Then, when night falls, the harbor ignites. Antigua Sailing Week, April 28th to May 4th, 2018. Antigua and Barbuda. The beach is just the beginning.
Follow your heart to the 22nd Annual St. Kitts Music Festival from June 27th to July 1st, 2018. Featuring Kester Band, Sizzla Malonji, Small Axe Band, Nyla Blackman, and Betty Wack. Also, Patti LaBelle, Dijon, New Vibes International, Rhythm of the Beat, and Wayne Wonder. August Alcina, Aishona, Byron Messiah, Dasha, Shaka Dimas and Pliers, and Miss Lauren Hill. Save the date and book now for the 22nd Annual St. Kitts Music Festival, an experience like no other.
Welcome back. The Haiti government has established a reception center at its embassy in the Bahamas to help nationals access and register personal identification. Speaking on the issue in the House of Assembly on Monday, Minister for Finance and Immigration Brent Simonet said it was a welcome gesture and would work in tandem with the new immigration policies of the Bahamas. We get more in this report from Keisha Adderley of ZNS Network News.
Roni Jean-Charles became the face of all the immigration questions left unaddressed for decades. But today, Immigration Minister Brent Simonet says steps are being taken to remedy an immigration conundrum of the so-called stateless, with a documentation center at the Haitian embassy here in Nassau.
The government of Haiti has established this center, which, as it says, is for the reception and delivery of identification documents. It has 21 centers in Haiti. They are going to increase that to 40 centers And this center is responsible for issuing national ID cards, driver's licenses, and passports. Now, this has become very relevant because a lot of times what happens here in Nassau is the answer is the earthquake in Haiti destroyed our paperwork, or a fire destroyed our paperwork, or it got whatever. The paperwork is not available. So this is a very dynamic shift.
The shift will also mean the government addressing residents left in limbo for years.
I'm going to propose, after this audit is finished, that we look at, and will suggest to my cabinet colleagues, is that we need to establish rules that deal with children born outside of the Bahamas to married Bahamian women and a foreign spouse. We need to deal with that issue. It was part of earlier chats and has seemingly gone. Children born to a single Bahamian male, we need to look at that whole issue. But the more important issue going forward, and this is the issue I will end on here, apart from one other issue I need to talk about, is persons born in the Bahamas to non-Bahamian parents who fail to apply after the age of 19. Unless other circumstances entitle them to, will only be granted permanent residency with the right to work, and not citizenship.
Meantime, an immigration commission has been established to deal specifically with those who are born here and have applied for citizenship during the ages of 18 and 19 as prescribed by law. The cabinet will decide on those. This, as a 10-decades-long problem, is finally being solved.
In other news, the Caribbean is seeking to garner technical and financial support for its aged water infrastructure from partners at the World Water Forum currently underway in Brazil. The region's representatives are presenting a strategic plan that they hope will resonate with the support groups and organizations at the forum. We get more in this special report from Nazima Raguber on assignment in Brazil.
The Caribbean delegation at the 8th World Water Forum is looking to garner technical and financial support for a strategic water plan for the region. Dr. James Fletcher, Managing Director of Solaricon and consultant to the Caribbean Water and Wastewater Association, explained that the plan explores major issues affecting the resource in the region. Dr. Fletcher made a presentation to the Process of the Americas on Monday.
This presentation today was really to tell the process of the Americas what are the issues for us in the Caribbean and what are we planning on doing about it, in particular with the articulation of this Water Sector Action Plan and what we expect to come out of this Water Sector Action Plan.
Dr. Fletcher said that the Caribbean needs financial support to address existing issues like infrastructure in the region. Long-term planning is needed, he explained.
We go about development in all of the major economic sectors, but we do not understand that without assuring ourselves of a supply of quality fresh water, every single one of these economic sectors is in peril. So,
support for the plan comes from the Inter-American Development Bank and the Caribbean Development Bank. Lennox O'Reilly Lewis, Chief of the Economic Infrastructure Division of the CDB, says that the bank sees the need to support climate-resilient water infrastructure.
In the water infrastructure, we have spent over $300 million primarily in replacing infrastructure. In terms of what is needed, throughout the Caribbean, throughout our borrowing member countries, 19 borrowing member countries, the estimate rises into the billions in terms of the works that are needed.
The plan, which benefited from ministerial and other consultation at the CWWA High-Level Forum in Guyana, will be presented at the CWWA 27 conference to be held in Jamaica in October 2018.
Ahead in Newsline Sport, Windies women concede the T20 series against New Zealand women. The details of that story after the break. Stay with us.
Follow your heart to the 22nd Annual St. Kitts Music Festival from June 27 to July 1st, 2018. Featuring Kester Band, Singer Lungi, Small Axe Band, Nyla Blackman, and Betty Wack. Also, Patti LaBelle, Dijon, New Vibes International, Rhythm of the Beat, and Wayne Wonder. August Alcina, Aishona, Byron Messiah, Dasha, Shaka Dimas, and Pliers, and Miss Lauren Hill. Save the date and experience like no other.
Chop 1 medium head of romaine lettuce. Slice about 3 Roma tomatoes and add them to the bowl. Slice your cucumber and add it to the bowl. Last but certainly not least, freshly cooked corn on the cob makes all the difference in this salad.
I'm gonna toss it all together to make sure everything is coated in that delicious dressing.
This week on I Love Food.
West Indies women lost a last over thriller to New Zealand women in the third of 5 T20 international matches on Tuesday, slumping to yet another series defeat. Chasing 135 for victory in Plymouth, West Indies needed 5 to win from the last over with 6 wickets in hand, but they lost 3 wickets and managed just 3 runs to come short by 1 run and fall behind 0-3 in the 5-match series. When they needed 3 off the last ball, Marissa Aguilera, who top scored for the Windies with 38, failed to connect to a flat delivery and only managed a leg bye. Sent in earlier, the hosts were held to 134 for 7 off their 20 overs, with captain Susie Bates carrying her bat for an unbeaten 52 and opening partner Sophie Devine supporting with 41. Together, they posted 52 off 33 balls, but it was Devine who dominated the stand, pummeling 3 4s and 3 6s in an 18-ball cameo before missing a cross-batted heave at off-spinner Hayley Matthews and having her stumps rattled in the 6th over. Bates then held the innings together as wickets tumbled regularly around her, finishing with 5 4s and a 53-ball stay at the crease. Matthews was the best bowler with 3 for 24, while seamer Deandra Dottin claimed 2 for 23. And in their innings, Windies women were in trouble when Matthews went down in the 7th over for 14, holding out to a juggling catch on the mid-wicket boundary by Maddie Green off leg spinner Amelia Kerr. But Aguilera then orchestrated 2 stands which appeared to put West Indies women on course for the win. She put on 30 for the 4th wicket with Dottin, whose 24 required just 17 balls and included 4 boundaries, before adding a further 57 for the 5th wicket with Kycia Knight, who struck 27. Knight fell to the first delivery of the final over from off-break bowler Anna Peterson, slapping a sharp ball to Devine at cover. Brittany Cooper was kept scoreless from the next delivery but picked up a couple off the 3rd before falling to the 4th, stumped down the leg side. Akira Peters was run out of the penultimate delivery attempting a single in order to give Aguilera the strike for the first time in the over, but by then the momentum was with the White Ferns. The remaining T20s against New Zealand will play on Thursday and Sunday. West Indies will visit India for a bilateral series for the first time since the controversial abandoned tour 4 years ago, when they played 2 tests, 5 one-day internationals and a one-off 2020 international later this year. The series, which bowls off in October, will include India's first ever day-night test, with the T20 involving the world champions carded for Eden Gardens in Kolkata. Cricket Association of Bengal President, former India captain Sourav Ganguly, confirmed the venue for the T20 International. Quoting an email exchange between Cricket West Indies President Dave Cameron and BCCI Acting Secretary Amitabh Chaudhary, newspaper report said Cameron was also keen on the idea of a pink ball test. West Indies have already played 2, the first against Pakistan in Dubai 2 years ago and the second during a summer tour of England last year. The ODIs, meanwhile, have been scheduled for early November. Staying with cricket, four-time champions Barbados will open the defense of their regional under-15 championship title against arch-rivals Trinidad and Tobago when the tournament bowls off in Jamaica later this month. The Barbadians lifted the title last year after beating TNT in the final round when the championship was staged in Bridgetown. The tournament, which runs from March 28th to April 4th, will see Leeward Islands, Guyana, Windward Islands and Jamaica joining Barbados and TNT to do battle over 5 rounds of one-day cricket. Leewards, who finished second last year, take on hosts Jamaica at Up Park Camp, while Windwards, who were third last year, clash with Guyana at Kensington Cricket Club. This year represents the third time in the last 6 years that Jamaica will host the age group tournament, and Adams believes this will be an excellent opportunity for players to also engage in personal development off the field. Switching sports now, Trinidad and Tobago footballers Kaleem Highland and Rion Moore are ready for the challenge in the upcoming friendly internationals against Guadeloupe and Martinique. Highland is looking to use his experience to guide a young team going forward, while Moore's goal is to cement his place in the team. Kent Fuentes of C Sports reports.
The players were putting in the hard work needed to be sharp for two teams which are difficult opponents with TNT at any level. Saudi Arabia-based midfielder Kaleem Highland, who is one of 9 foreign-based players in the squad, said that games, no matter who they are against, will only help the team improve as a unit.
I think it's a great opportunity for the Trinidad and Tobago Federation to get games on FIFA date. I think we should make use of it every time there's an international date, because this will only help us get better as a team, as a nation. And the preparations is going good so far, and I think we are going in on a building stage, and hopefully we can get some positive results and gel better for the games to come.
As one of the senior players in the team, the former East Mukurapo standout knows he has a key role to play as they look ahead to international competition. Unlike Sidha Hunger, he is already seeing on the pitch.
I have a big part to play. A lot of the guys I don't know at this point in time who I train with here in Trinidad and Tobago. I don't know exactly who is the final squad, but the only thing I notice is their discipline. They are willing to take instructions on board, and that is great. And hopefully I can just share my experience with them, and hopefully we can gel together and make a good team.
One player hoping to make his senior debut is Defence Force winger Rion Moore, who is taking in all he can with the hope of cementing his place on the team.
It's a learning process for me, and I'm just willing to take all the information and work forward and remain on the team.
And that's the sport. We'll be right back.
It's time. Kick back, relax, enjoy the view, the boats, the scenery amidst epic parties, entertainment and nightlife. Antigua Sailing Week. Experience 7 days of non-stop bliss. Chase the race daily by land or up close by sea as the crews compete for glory. Then, when night falls, the harbor ignites. Antigua Sailing Week, April 28th to May 4th, 2018. Antigua and Barbuda. The beach is just the beginning.
And that's Caribbean Newsline. Thank you for joining us, and have a good night.